Vomit, vet visits, and very stressed pets. Pet owners, if you want to avoid these 3 V's, and there's one thing that you can do, do not let them snack on these 8 toxic human foods. If your dog has ingested any of the following foods or is showing signs of illness, it's best to contact your vet immediately. Most pet parents are very aware that chocolate is a no-no for our dogs and cats. Now, it's important that we talk about why. The toxic ingredient in chocolate is actually something called theobromine, and this is going to be a dose-dependent problem. So it's really important that if your pet gets into chocolate, that your veterinarian knows how much, what type, and we know how much your dog weighs. It's because all of these things will impact how toxic it potentially is. For example, dark chocolate and baking chocolate is going to have a much higher concentration of theobromine or cocoa than its counterparts. Milk chocolate will have even less, white chocolate will have even less. So that's why it's helpful if your pet gets into chocolate, that if you can give your veterinarian a rough guess of how much, what type, and how much your dog weighs, it's going to be easier for them to determine based on a calculation if we're reaching a toxic dose and they need to be seen. Symptoms of chocolate toxicity are going to vary depending on how much your pet has gotten into. In mild cases, we may see dogs experiencing things like vomiting or diarrhea. If they've eaten a little bit more and we've gotten into that medium toxic dose range, we may see things like tachycardia, a high heart rate, or arrhythmia, an irregular heart rhythm. As we work up to more severe doses, we may see things like muscle tremors and seizures, so this can be extremely dangerous. This might be for those small dogs eating big portions of dark chocolate. Those are the cases that I worry about seeing severe toxicity. Number 2, grapes and raisins. Again, a lot of pet owners are familiar with the fact that grapes and raisins are a problem for dogs, but they don't know why. Interestingly, we're still kind of figuring out about the toxic principles and the toxic dose in grapes and raisins, but we know that there is a potential for even ingestion of small amounts to cause kidney failure. If you know that your dog has gotten into grapes or raisins, it's important to call your vet. We may see signs that indicate toxicity, such as vomiting, diarrhea, lethargy, changes in appetite, increased thirst and urination, or even abdominal pain. Number 3, onions and garlic. Onions and garlic are in the allium family, and we know that things in the allium family have the potential to cause hemolytic anemia in our pets. Now, hemolytic anemia is the fancy word for saying that their body will attack and destroy its own red blood cell count and make that count go down, which can be a problem. Signs that your pet has hemolytic anemia may include things like lethargy, weakness, pale gums, but we can even see things just as simple as vomiting or diarrhea. So if you know your pet has gotten into onions or garlic, please contact your vet. Toxicity with onions and garlic is going to be dose dependent, but I tell owners if you want to avoid the stress, these are just things that we don't need to be putting in their diet or letting them snack on. Number 4 is xylitol. Xylitol used to be a sneaky toxicity in dogs and cats, but I think people are slowly becoming more aware that it's a problem. Now, xylitol is an artificial sweetener that we're finding in more and more products out on the market these days. A lot of people are aware that it can be found in things like peanut butter, but we can also see it in toothpaste, gum. I've even seen it in things like gummy probiotics. So the problem with xylitol is that it causes a rapid release of insulin in the system, and insulin is what tells our body to start taking in glucose or sugar as a source of energy. If we have this rapid release of insulin, we can potentially see a very problematic drop in blood sugar called hypoglycemia, and this can be life-threatening. Additionally, for our pets, it can also cause liver failure. So xylitol is a really tricky one that we want to avoid. Number 5, alcohol. While we may enjoy a pint with our friends, alcohol should never be shared with our pets. This is rapidly absorbed into their bloodstream, and because of their size, they can be even more susceptible to the effects. In signs of alcohol toxicity in our pets, we can see signs similar to people. In milder cases, it may just be vomiting or disorientation and weakness, but in more severe cases, it can cause things like respiratory distress, difficulty breathing, or even coma. Because of these risks, do not give your pets alcohol, and be very mindful of those open glasses on the table when our pets are around. Number 6 is avocados. While avocado toast may be one of my favorite breakfasts, I'm not going to be sharing this with Jordy, and I'll tell you why. So avocados contain a compound called persin, and we know that this is toxic to animals. Interestingly, persin is usually going to be more of a severe problem for horses and birds, especially our bird friends, which is why we want to avoid avocados for them altogether. In dogs and cats, we worry a lot more about the fat content. I see dogs coming in with things like vomiting and diarrhea, and potentially even pancreatitis if they've consumed avocado, particularly in large amounts. The thing that I also worry about is the pit. Now, that is a huge choking hazard, and you know that if you've ever accidentally cut an avocado and the pit has gone flying, those things are slippery, and dogs can have those in their mouths very quickly. So please avoid avocado for your pets, and really make sure that you're mindful when you're cutting out the pit and getting rid of it. I know that a lot of pet owners are tempted to give their dogs bones, particularly after they're done cooking, as a fun treat or something to chew on for their teeth. Now, this is a common misconception because unfortunately bones act as a very common source of foreign bodies. Splinters of bones coming off from being chewed on will often lodge themselves in places we don't want them to be. I see too many pets coming in with foreign bodies, obstructions, or perforations of the gut because of bone splinters, so I don't often encourage people to let their dogs chew on them. Additionally, bones are one of the most common reasons that I see fractured or broken teeth in dogs, and those dogs need to be put under general anesthesia and have the tooth surgically removed. I know that bones seem like a fun treat for your dog, but I'm not going to be the person who says they can't have treats. There are plenty more safe options that we can offer our pets that aren't going to put them at increased risk of things like gut perforation or broken teeth. Even in small numbers, macadamia nuts can release toxins that affect the dog's nervous system. In some cases, we can see signs like vomiting, tremors, weakness, or even increased body temperature. While some cases will be mild and resolve with time, severe cases may require hospitalization for treatment with your vet. While the foods that we've discussed so far are potentially very toxic to our pets, there are safe options for human foods that we can share with them. So if you're ever not sure or if you want suggestions, contact your vet.